the nightmares and the dreams in this movie are as an important thing is really interesting, because there is. So the idea of the dark night of the soul, it comes from a poem written by a 16th century Spanish mystic and poet Saint John of the Cross, and it's just, I think it's just called the Dark Night or Dark Night of the Soul, and it's kind of been taken out and used to mean different things, especially like in New Age stuff and a little bit like in the Jungian circles or whatever, but it's kind of misunderstood. It's not exactly this moment of, it's not rock bottom. It doesn't mean rock bottom. It is actually, but the thing is that it often occurs because of rock bottom. The dark night of the soul is when you cannot pass any further using only rational intellect and material reality. And this is why this was a Spanish mystic, a Christian mystic that wrote this, because it's the idea that when you let go of certain material reality and your own rationality, you're able to reach a different understanding that lies beyond that. And so he loses his son and his family, and he's basically at this kind of like, having everything taken from him that is material and that is rational. He can't make sense of what's going on, and his material reality is not to be trusted. And so this is the scene that made me think about this, was when he goes to his old home where he had his family, and he just kind of sits there and it's dark, and he makes peace with letting go of all his memories and all his attachments, and that's when the boy that's dead shows up and is like, let's go. And shortly after, that's when you realize that he's dead, and he dies after that.
It's a weird thing though, briefly, while you're talking about that, I just realized something, and I don't want to, you're right, there is a lot of Christian or Jewish symbolism, Judeo-Christian symbolism, and it just occurred to me when he goes up to that house, which ostensibly was his old house. It's like the idea of St. Peter at the gate. Like there's a doorman there who's like welcoming him back and lets him in, I think. So there is. I just realized there is that little nod to that idea of, isn't St. Peter? Isn't he the one that's up there?
I think it's
out?
Peter. Is
Paul?
Like lets people in?
Peter
Is
or
it
Paul?
Paul?
It's Peter.
Now I don't. Now I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Now I can't tell. Well, we're not experts on the Bible. That's not. Somehow. It really is. The more I try to do the analysis of these movies like this, I realize how crippling it is not to know the Bible that much, because it really is like the first like deepest and most comprehensive attempt at storytelling that encapsulates human experience and wisdom into it. It's
and
like,
horror films really use, everything in the Western literary tradition until fairly recently use the Bible as a basis in a lot of ways. So just if any new viewers are watching this, we are not a pseudo Christian outreach podcast, just so I understand that. But it is important to understand that these stories are the basis of a lot of Western literature, and especially in horror, it's used a lot. And we've said before, the Bible has a lot of horror stories in it, which makes sense because, to some degree, these are stories about human beings living,
suffering,
life,
dying, all
so,
this. Yeah, and evil. The Bible is one of the most comprehensive original analysis of evil. So, of course, it's going to have horror in it. And, of course, horror would take from it. But anyway, so, the idea here is that and this is, again, that kind of realm between realms, the unconscious, the dark. This is where you let go of rationality, of material reality, and that is what allows you to grapple with something beyond that. And and then, of course, he ascends the staircase in that scene after he lets go of trying to rationalize things and of trying to hang on and all of that. So there's something interesting there in that idea. I think there's something to gain from, it's a kind of a really hard to understand concept, this idea of letting go of rationality and material reality. Because then, especially us today in our modern secular world, we say, well, what else is there then? If I can't use my intellect and I can't look at the material world to understand anything, what else is there? And that's when you're in the dark. That's when you're in the realm between realms. And I don't know. I can't tell people what they're going to find in the realm between realms. But for a very, very, very long time, people have been finding things beyond rationality and beyond the material realm. It's almost like human beings have this innate inclination to search for something beyond just the material world and just what their mind can grasp. You know, a lot of the Christian mystics believed, there was a school of Christian mysticism that turned away from the more reasoned approach, which is like Aquinas and like these kind of more studious theory-based approaches to religion. And then there's the more mystical, poetic version of that school of thought, which is kind of this idea that, and you hear this said for religion, that it is simply what you don't know, that there is that God is the unknowable and the unknown. And
but they reference that very directly in the film. I mean,
yes,
you know, okay, I didn't want to jump over you, but
no, I was going to say this.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I'm not sure what you're going to.
Well, the chiropractor angel quotes Meister Eckhart.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is like a Christian mystic that regained popularity over the last 100 years or so. So, you know, it's right there in the movie.
Yeah, and so this, like, let's take it back to the demons now, because that idea of the chiropractor / angel keeps telling Jacob to relax. Every time he's with him and he's working on him, he tells him relax before he does a move on him.
Which is gross. I think chiropractic is gross. Number one, I don't like it. I'm not sure that it's real. It could be pseudoscience. Look, all right, now I'm going to make a claim about chiropractic. I make claims all the time on this podcast. Everyone knows. But if you look in the history of chiropractic, there's going to be a lot of angry chiropractors. All right, so some I actually know some people say it works fine. Yeah. It may work, but it is a little pseudoscientific itself.
It's kind of like acupuncture, you know, where it's like people say it works, but
acupuncture
you can't really
at least
prove.
Yeah,
you're more supportive of acupuncture.
Well, it has a longer history. I'll at least give acupuncture that.
Yeah, so does like Chinese folk medicine of like, you know,
sure,
murdering bears for their bladders or whatever.
True, so, and not you know,
we've denounced the shark fin soup already.
We have.
You can't walk it back now.
I'm not, but I mean, I endorse acupuncture over shark fin soup. I'm just saying that, like, I don't do acupuncture and I don't do chiropractic. All I do is drink pure rainwater. That keeps me healthy. but here's the thing. Okay, so forget about chiropractors. Don't send me angry messages. Forget about that. I do want to say one other thing about it, though, is he not only tells them to relax all the time. You notice he says turn to your right, and then he goes the wrong way and he goes your other right. Yeah. And I saw that as another reference to this idea of the left, which I think we may have done this as a word of the podcast. The left is in Latin sinister. Yes. I'm not saying it in the Latin way, but the left and the left-hand path, we have talked about this, is in esotericism.
Dark magic.
More, I don't know. That's a little harsh. I mean, I'm not sure if it's always dark magic. It is the way that is not proven, the way that is a little more unexplored, and I guess sometimes it can be considered dark magic. So I thought, you know, they're clearly doing that for some reason. The writer is referencing that for some reason because it happens twice.
Also, it's, you know, now that I think about it, there's something important in his character being a professor, and there's kind of this whole thing that, and the chiropractor says, for a professor, you don't know your right from your left, you know, and he's like, you haven't read Meister Eckhart, you know, he kind of keeps pushing on this, you know, how are you a professor and you're so like out of touch in a way and oblivious in some ways. And that kind of goes back to this idea that rationality doesn't solve all problems, that rationality in some places can be an obstacle. And that makes sense for this idea that he can't tell his right from his left, even though he's this like PhD.